The stars above Earth looked peaceful that night. They always did, but peace was about to end. Captain stood at the observation window of Orbital Station, drinking his third cup of coffee. He was a tall man with tired eyes and gray hair at his temples. 20 years in the Space Defense Force had taught him one thing: the universe was full of surprises, and most of them were unpleasant. Behind him, the station hummed with quiet activity. Officers moved between screens. Machines beeped softly. Everything was normal. Then everything changed. Lieutenant's voice cut through the silence. "Sir, we have contacts, multiple contacts." Turned slowly. He had heard those words before. How many? His fingers danced across her console. Her face grew pale as numbers filled her screen. 300 ships, sir. They just dropped out of hyperspace near the moon. 300. Set down his coffee cup. The last invasion had only brought 50 ships. The one before that, 80. 300 was new. "Can you identify them?" he asked. Pulled up the database. The Galactic Confederacy kept records of every known species, their ships, their weapons, their behavior. It was useful information, even if the Confederacy itself was useless. "Dominion," she said, "species, expansionist. They've conquered 12 worlds in the past 3 cycles." 12 worlds, repeated. He walked to the main screen and studied the fleet. The ships were ugly things, all sharp angles and dark metal. They looked like insects themselves, like wasps waiting to sting. "They're hailing us," said. "Put it through." The screen flickered. A face appeared, though calling it a face was generous. Commander of the Dominion had 6 eyes arranged in a circle around a vertical mouth filled with needle teeth. His exoskeleton was dark purple, almost black. When he spoke, his voice clicked and buzzed. "Primitive world designated Earth," said. "I am commander of the Dominion. Your planet has been selected for incorporation into our empire. You will surrender immediately. Resistance is not advised. Your Confederacy rating marks you as Class 7 primitive without meaningful defenses. Surrender now and your people will be treated as valuable labor resources. Resist, and you will be treated as fuel." The transmission ended. Stared at the blank screen for a long moment. Then he sighed. It was a heavy sigh, the kind that came from deep in his chest. "Third time this decade," he muttered. Looked at him. She was young, only 5 years in the service. She had not seen an invasion before. "Sir, what do we do?" "First, we follow protocol," pressed a button on his console. "Get me Admiral." While they waited, watched the fleet. 300 ships hung in space like a swarm of metal locusts. Their weapons were charged. Their shields were up. They were ready for war. They had no idea what they were facing. A new face appeared on screen. Admiral was a small woman with silver hair pulled back in a tight bun. She was 73 years old and had commanded Earth's true defense fleet for 30 of those years. Her eyes were sharp, and her voice was calm. "Captain," she said, "I see we have visitors." 300 warships, Admiral. They've demanded our surrender." "Have they?" It was not a question. The expression did not change. What was their commander's name? Seemed to taste the name. "I don't know that one. New blood, perhaps, eager to prove himself." "He called us Class 7 primitive," said. There was anger in her voice. "He said we have no meaningful defenses." Smiled. It was not a warm smile. "The Confederacy database says many things about Earth. Most of them are lies we ask them to tell." She turned to someone off screen and gave an order. Then she looked back at, "Captain, please send the following response to Commander, word for word." "Ready, Admiral." "Tell him, are you absolutely certain you want to do this?" Blinked, "That's all." "That's all." Lieutenant sent the message. They watched the fleet on the screen and waited. The response came quickly. His face reappeared, and this time he was laughing. The sound was horrible, like metal scraping against metal. Said, "Little primitives, I have conquered worlds with armies. I have burned cities and harvested populations. I have turned civilizations into ash and built monuments from their bones. Your tiny planet with its tiny ships does not frighten me. You have 1 hour to surrender. After that, I will begin with your largest cities. I will make examples of millions. And when your leaders come crawling to me, begging for mercy, I will remember this moment. I will remember your foolish question. And I will laugh. The transmission ended again. Looked at Admiral, he seems confident. They always are. Smile faded. Lieutenant, please broadcast on all Confederacy channels. I want everyone to see what happens next. Everyone, Admiral. Everyone. It's time the galaxy remembered what humans are. His hands trembled slightly as she opened the broadcast. Across the galaxy, on 1,000 worlds, screens flickered to life. Trading posts, diplomatic stations, colony ships, military bases, all of them turned their attention to the small blue planet called Earth. Admiral straightened her uniform. She looked into the camera. When she spoke, her voice was quiet but clear. Commander of the Dominion, this is Admiral of the Earth Defense Force. I am going to explain something to you, and I want you to listen carefully. I want the entire galaxy to listen carefully. She paused. The Galactic Confederacy rates Earth as Class 7 primitive. They say we have no meaningful defenses. They say we are suitable for conquest. This information is incorrect. On the flagship, watched with amusement, his officers clicked their mandibles in laughter. The truth, continued, is that we asked the Confederacy to list us that way. We requested it. We begged for it because we wanted to be left alone. We wanted peace. We did not want the galaxy to know what we are. Some amusement began to fade. Something in the human's voice made his antenna twitch. But you have forced our hand, Commander. You have come to our home with weapons and threats. You have promised to burn our cities and murder our people. So now I will show you the truth. I will show the entire galaxy the truth. Admiral looked off-screen and nodded. Wake them up, she said. Across the solar system, lights began to turn on. On the moon, the gray surface split open. Hatches that had been hidden for 200 years groaned and lifted. From underground bunkers carved deep into the lunar rock, weapons platforms rose. Thousands of them, tens of thousands, and missile batteries and energy weapons that had no names in any Confederacy database. On Mars, mountains moved. They were not mountains. They had never been mountains. They were defense stations disguised as geography, and now they woke from their long sleep. In the asteroid belt, rocks began to glow. Hidden engines fired. Hidden weapons charged. The asteroids were not asteroids. Around Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, installations that the Confederacy had never detected powered up their reactors. Ships emerged from hidden docks, ships that had been built in secret over generations. And around Earth itself, the orbital platforms revealed their true nature. What had looked like civilian stations and cargo depots transformed. Armor plates slid into place. Weapon systems extended. Targeting computers connected to a network that wrapped around the entire solar system. Stared at his tactical display. His 6 eyes went wide. His needle teeth parted in shock. Commander, his tactical officer said, voice shaking, we are being painted by targeting systems. How many? The officer's mandibles trembled. 47,000, Commander. Our flagship alone is targeted by 47,000 weapons. Looked at the human woman on his screen. She was still smiling that small, cold smile. Commander, Admiral said, you have made a mistake. Many have made this mistake before you, but I am a fair woman. I will give you one chance to correct it. Turn your fleet around. Leave this system. Never return. Do this and you will live. Her eyes hardened. Refuse, and I will teach you why the galaxy should fear the word human. Commander could not move. His 6 eyes stared at the tactical display, and his mind refused to accept what he was seeing. The solar system had come alive. Every planet, every moon, Every rock floating in the darkness had become a weapon. His fleet of 300 warships, the pride of the Dominion, was surrounded by more firepower than he had ever seen in his life. "This is impossible," he whispered. His tactical officer, a young named, worked frantically at his console. "Commander, I am detecting weapons signatures from locations that our sensors showed as empty space. There are defense platforms hidden everywhere. They were invisible until they activated." "How?" demanded. "How did they hide from our sensors?" "I do not know, Commander. Our technology should have detected them. The Confederacy assured us that Earth had minimal defenses. They promised us an easy conquest." Turned back to the screen where Admiral waited. Her face was patient, calm, like a teacher waiting for a slow student to understand a simple lesson. "The Confederacy lied to you," said, as if reading his thoughts. "Or rather, they told you the lies we asked them to tell. We have spent 300 years preparing for this moment, Commander. We hoped it would never come. We hoped that if we looked weak enough, small enough, harmless enough, the galaxy would leave us alone." She shook her head slowly. "But there is always someone like you, someone who sees weakness and wants to exploit it, someone who looks at a quiet people and thinks they are prey." Her voice grew harder. "We are not prey, Commander. We have never been prey. We are the most dangerous species in this galaxy, and the only reason you don't know that is because we didn't want you to." Santana flattened against his skull. It was a sign of fear among his people, and he could not control it. Around him, his bridge crew showed the same signs. They were terrified. "You are bluffing," he said, but his voice shook. "No primitive species could build defenses like this. The Confederacy would have noticed. They have watched your world for centuries." "They watched what we allowed them to watch." Admiral leaned forward. "Would you like to know a secret, Commander? Humans are very good at hiding things. We spent most of our history hiding things from each other. Hiding weapons, hiding armies, hiding entire programs that built terrible things in secret. When we finally reached the stars and met other species, we realized something important." She paused. "We realized that compared to us, the rest of the galaxy is innocent, trusting, naive. You build your weapons in the open. You announce your fleet movements. You register your military installations with central authorities. You have never learned to hide because you have never needed to." Felt cold. His exoskeleton, which usually regulated his temperature perfectly, could not stop the chill spreading through his body. "Humans learned to hide before we learned to speak," continued. "We hid from predators, we hid from weather, we hid from each other, and when we reached space, we hid from you. We built our defenses underground, inside asteroids, in places your sensors would never think to look. We made them invisible, we made them silent. We waited." On the tactical display, new signatures kept appearing. Every time thought he had counted them all, more emerged. The numbers climbed past 50,000, past 100,000, past numbers that stopped making sense. "Commander," said, his voice barely a whisper, "I am detecting a fleet emerging from behind Jupiter's moon Europa. It numbers approximately 1,200 warships. Their design does not match any known Confederacy classification." "Show me," ordered. The screen shifted to show the fleet. Hearts, both of them, stopped beating for a moment. The human ships were beautiful in a terrifying way. They were sleek and dark, built for speed and violence. They moved in perfect formation, like a school of predator fish sensing blood in the water, and they were huge. The smallest of them was twice the size of his flagship. "Those ships," said slowly, "have been hiding behind Europa this entire time." "Yes, Commander. Our initial scans showed nothing there. They were completely invisible until they chose to reveal themselves." Admiral's voice came through the speakers again. "That is the third fleet, Commander. We have 7 fleets in total. Would you like to see the others?" Did not answer. He could not answer. His mind was still trying to process what was happening. "Let me tell you something else," said. "Something that might help you understand your situation. 3 other species have tried to invade Earth. 3 times in 200 years, someone looked at our little blue planet and thought it would be easy to take. She held up one finger. The hegemony came first in the year 2089 by our calendar. They sent 50 ships. They were confident because the Confederacy told them we were harmless. They entered Earth orbit and demanded our surrender. She smiled grimly. The battle lasted 6 hours. None of their ships survived. We captured their commander alive and returned him to his people with a message: leave us alone. A second finger rose. The collective came next in 2156. They had heard rumors about them but didn't believe them. They sent 80 ships, better armed than the. They thought they were prepared. Smile faded. They were not prepared for humans to board their command ship during the battle. They were not prepared for soldiers who could survive in hard vacuum for short periods. They were not prepared for humans with knives and improvised explosives fighting through their corridors. Their commander surrendered personally to a human sergeant who had lost her weapon and was fighting with a piece of broken metal. A third finger. The Empire came last in 2201. They were the most powerful. They sent 300 ships just like you. They had studied the previous invasions. They thought they understood humans. They were wrong. Lowered her hand. The Empire no longer exists, Commander. Not because we destroyed their fleet, though we did, but because after we defeated them, we followed them home. We found their emperor and his council. We explained to them, very carefully, what would happen if they ever threatened Earth again. We explained what humans do when we are truly angry. Her eyes met through the screen. They believed us. They dissolved their empire that same day. They scattered across the galaxy, hiding from their own history. They tell their children stories about the humans, Commander, horror stories, warnings. And those children grow up afraid of a species they have never met because their ancestors learned the truth about us. The tactical officer made a small sound. It was not quite a word. It was the sound of someone whose entire understanding of the universe had just collapsed. Now, Admiral said, her voice soft and almost kind, you understand why we asked the Confederacy to hide our true nature. We don't want to be feared. We don't want to conquer. We don't want war. We wanted to live quietly among the stars, trading and learning and growing. We wanted peace. She leaned back in her chair. But we are what we are, Commander. We cannot change our nature any more than you can change yours. When threatened, we become something terrible, something that even we fear. The weapons you see around you, the ships emerging from Jupiter, the defense grid that could destroy your entire fleet in seconds, those are not our greatest weapons. Found his voice, then what is? Admiral pointed at her own head. This, the human mind, our ability to imagine the worst and make it real, our creativity in destruction, our willingness to do whatever is necessary to protect our own. That is what makes us dangerous, Commander, not our technology, our nature. She stood. You have 1 hour to leave this system. After that hour, if you are still here, I will give the order to fire. And I will not stop firing until every one of your ships is dust and memory. The screen went dark. Stood alone on his bridge, surrounded by terrified officers, staring at a tactical display filled with weapons pointed at his heart. He had come to conquer a primitive world. He had found something else entirely. And for the first time in his long career of conquest, Commander of the Dominion did not know what to do. 40 minutes had passed since Admiral's ultimatum. Commander still had not moved his fleet. Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched the broadcast. Trading posts had stopped trading. Diplomatic meetings had been suspended. Ships had dropped out of hyperspace just to find a screen and watch. The confrontation at Earth had become the most watched event in Confederacy history. Captain stood beside Lieutenant on orbital station, monitoring the situation. The fleet remained in position, weapons charged but not firing. They were frozen, caught between fear and pride. "Why doesn't he leave?" asked. "He must know he cannot win." "Pride," said. "His species values strength above all else. If he retreats without fighting, he will be disgraced. His career will be over, perhaps his life too. So he would rather die than be embarrassed." Many species feel that way. Humans used to feel that way too. Some still do. Admiral's face appeared on their screen. "Captain, I have an idea. Something that might give Commander a way out that doesn't require him to simply run away." "I'm listening, Admiral." "He doesn't believe what I've told him, not fully. He can see our weapons, but he doesn't understand what they mean. He doesn't understand what humans are." Paused. "I want to teach him. I want to show him our history. If he understands why we are the way we are, perhaps he will realize that retreat is not cowardice. It is wisdom." "Consider this. You want to scare him even more." "I want to give him knowledge. What he does with that knowledge is his choice. And if it doesn't work, if he still refuses to leave." Admiral's eyes grew cold. "Then he will learn a different lesson." She gave orders, and a few minutes later, a new face appeared on the broadcast. Doctor was a small woman with round glasses and gray-streaked hair. She looked like someone's grandmother, which she was. She also held 3 doctorates in military history and— "Good evening," Doctor said. Her voice was warm, almost friendly. "I have been asked to provide some context for our visitors and for the wider galactic audience. What I am about to share is not classified, but it has been removed from most Confederacy databases at humanity's request. We did not want to frighten anyone." She smiled apologetically. "I'm afraid we need to frighten you now." On the flagship, watched with his remaining officers. Most of his crew had gathered at screens throughout the ship. They needed to understand what they were facing. "Let me start with a simple fact," Doctor said. "Earth is what call a death world. This is not a metaphor. Our planet is genuinely hostile to life." Images appeared on screen. Earth from space, blue and green and beautiful. "This looks peaceful," Doctor continued. "It is not. Earth's gravity is 30% higher than the galactic average. Our atmosphere contains high levels of oxygen, which is corrosive and supports combustion. Our weather systems include hurricanes, tornadoes, blizzards, and floods. Our planet experiences earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. Our sun bombards us with radiation." The images changed. Hurricanes devastating coastlines, volcanoes erupting, earthquakes splitting the ground. And then there is the wildlife. New images: a great white shark with rows of teeth, a tiger stalking through grass, snakes with fangs dripping venom, spiders, crocodiles, bears, wolves. Earth life evolved in constant competition, Doctor explained. Every species on our planet is either a predator or prey, usually both. The plants are often poisonous. The insects can kill with a single sting. The oceans are filled with creatures that exist only to consume other creatures. She paused for effect. And humans survived this world, not by being the strongest or the fastest or the most venomous. We survived by being the most adaptable, the most persistent, and the most creative. The screen showed early humans, small, fragile-looking creatures with no claws, no fangs, no armor. "We had nothing," Doctor said. "Our bodies were weak compared to other predators. We could not run as fast as our prey. We could not fight with tooth and claw. So we learned to think. We learned to plan. We learned to work together and use tools. And we learned to never, ever give up." The images changed again. Humans hunting mammoths with spears, building fires, crossing frozen landscapes. We chased our prey until they collapsed from exhaustion because we could run longer than any other animal. We survived ice ages that killed 90% of all species. We spread across every continent, every climate, every environment. We went to places where we should have died and made them our homes. Watched in silence, his officers were equally quiet. And then we started fighting each other. The screen filled with images of war. Ancient battles with swords and spears, medieval sieges, cannons and rifles, trenches filled with soldiers. Humans have been at war with each other for our entire recorded history, Doctor said. We have invented countless ways to kill. We have refined the art of destruction beyond anything the galaxy has ever seen. We created weapons that could destroy entire cities in a single flash of light. Nuclear explosions filled the screen, mushroom clouds rising over ruined landscapes. We built enough of these weapons to destroy our own planet several times over, and we came close to using them, very close, several times. Doctor removed her glasses and cleaned them slowly. Do you understand what I am telling you, Commander? Humans spent thousands of years learning how to kill each other. We became experts at it. We developed strategies and tactics and technologies for warfare that make your Dominion's conquests look like children playing games. She put her glasses back on. And then we stopped. We looked at what we had created, at what we had become, and we were horrified. We made a choice. We chose to use our abilities for something else. We chose to build instead of destroy. We chose to heal instead of harm. We went to the stars hopping to leave our violent nature behind. Her voice grew soft. But we did not lose that nature, Commander. It is still there, inside every human. The warrior is always present beneath the surface. We have simply learned to control it. We have learned to choose when to fight and when to show mercy. The screen showed the 3 previous invasions, ships burning, commanders surrendering, emperors begging for their lives. Everyone who has attacked Earth has learned this lesson, Doctor said. Those who attacked us became our enemies. We destroyed them. But those who surrendered, who accepted our mercy, they became something else. They became our friends. New images appeared. Merchants trading peacefully with human stations. Scientists working alongside human researchers. Even some descendants living quietly in human communities. We do not want enemies, Commander. We do not enjoy destruction. But if you force us to fight, we will fight. And we will win. Not because we are stronger or more advanced, but because we have thousands of years of experience at this. War is in our blood. It is in our bones. It is the thing we have worked hardest to overcome. Doctor looked directly at the camera. You came here expecting to conquer a primitive world. You found something else. You found a species that knows exactly how terrible it can be and chooses not to be. You found humans. She folded her hands. You have 15 minutes remaining, Commander. Use them wisely. Choose peace, and we will welcome you as friends. Choose war, and you will join the lessons I teach future generations about the folly of attacking Earth. The broadcast ended. On the flagship sat in his command chair. His tactical display still showed the same impossible numbers. 47,000 weapons targeting his ship alone. Fleets emerging from hidden positions throughout the system. An entire solar system turned into a fortress by a species that had spent its existence preparing for exactly this moment. He looked at his officers. They looked back at him. Commander said quietly, "What do we do?" Closed his eyes. He thought about glory. He thought about shame. He thought about the nuclear explosions on the human screens and what a species capable of doing that to themselves might do to enemies. He opened his eyes. "Open a channel to the human admiral," he said. "I wish to discuss terms." The galaxy held its breath. Commander had requested to discuss terms with Admiral. This was not surrender, not yet, but it was something close. The Great Dominion, conquerors of 12 worlds, was hesitating before a single blue planet. On orbital station, Captain watched the negotiations unfold. Admiral was patient and calm, explaining that no terms were necessary. They simply needed to leave. There would be no punishment, no pursuit, no revenge. They could go home and pretend this had never happened. "It seems too easy," Lieutenant said. "We're just letting them go." "That's the human way," replied. "At least it's the way we've chosen to be. Mercy is not weakness. It's a different kind of strength." As they talked, Medic rushed onto the bridge. She was a young woman with quick eyes and a worried expression. She carried a data pad filled with readings. "Captain, we have a problem," she said. "Turned, what kind of problem?" "I've been monitoring the fleet for biological signatures, standard protocol during standoffs." She held up the data pad. "Several of their ships are showing critical life support failures. They're losing atmosphere. Their environmental systems are breaking down." "Battle damage?" "No, sir. These systems were failing before they arrived. The ships are old and poorly maintained. I think they expected to conquer Earth quickly and use our resources to make repairs." His voice was tight. "Captain, there are over 2,000 on those failing ships. If nothing is done, they will die within hours." Stared at her. "They came here to enslave us." "Yes, sir." "They threatened to burn our cities and murder millions." "Yes, sir." "And you want us to help them?" Met his eyes. "They're dying, sir. Does anything else matter?" Was silent for a long moment. Then he reached for his console. "Get me Admiral, Priority Channel." The Admiral's face appeared, looking slightly annoyed at the interruption. "Captain, I'm in the middle of delicate negotiations." "I know, Admiral, but we have a situation." He explained what had discovered. Listened without expression. When finished, she was quiet for several seconds. Then she sighed. "How many ships?" 17, Admiral. Over 2,000 crew members." "And if we do nothing?" "They die within 3 to 4 hours." Closed her eyes. Could see her thinking, weighing options, considering consequences. Finally, she opened her eyes. "Do it," she said. "Admiral." "Offer them assistance. Medical teams, life support supplies, whatever they need. No conditions. No surrender required, just help." Lieutenant made a small sound of surprise. "But Admiral, they're the enemy." "They were the enemy," corrected. "Now they're people who need help. There's a difference." She paused. "Besides, this is who we are. This is who we chose to be. If we abandon that just because it's difficult, then we're no better than the conquerors we fight against." The channel closed. Turned to his crew. "You heard the Admiral. Open a channel to the flagship. Prepare medical teams for deployment. Let's show them what humans really are." On the flagship, received the message with disbelief. "They want to help us?" he asked, certain he had misunderstood. Captain's face was on the screen now. His expression was calm, almost friendly. "We've detected life support failures on 17 of your ships, Commander. Over 2,000 of your people are in danger. We're offering medical assistance and emergency supplies. You don't have to surrender. You don't have to do anything. We just want to help." Santana twisted in confusion. "Why?" "Because they're dying. That's reason enough." "But we came to conquer you. We threatened your world. We would have killed millions of your people." "I know," his voice was steady. "And right now your people are dying. Those two facts don't cancel each other out, Commander. We can be angry at what you tried to do and still help those who need help. That's not weakness. That's choice." Did not know how to respond. In the Dominion, enemies were enemies. You destroyed them or they destroyed you. There was no middle ground. There was no mercy. But these humans, these terrifying humans with their hidden weapons and their death world history, they were offering to save lives for no reason at all. "I do not understand your species," said finally. "Few do," admitted. "We're complicated. We can be the worst thing you've ever encountered and we can also be the best. It depends on which side of us you bring out." On one of the failing ships, a young officer named huddled with her clutchmates in an emergency shelter. The air was growing thin. The temperature was dropping. She could hear the ship groaning around her, systems failing one by one. She was going to die far from home, in a failed invasion of a planet she had never even seen. Then the door opened. A human stepped through, wearing a sealed suit and carrying a case of supplies. Behind the human, more figures appeared. Medical equipment, oxygen tanks, emergency heating units. The human removed their helmet. It was a woman with kind eyes and a gentle smile. She said something in her language, then pressed a button on her suit. A translation device spoke in clicks and buzzes. "My name is, I'm a medic. We're here to help." Stared at her, "You're human." "Yes." "Why are you helping us? We were going to attack your planet." Knelt beside clutchmates and began checking their vital signs. "I know, but right now you're not attacking anyone. Right now you're people who need help. That's what I see. That's what matters to me." "But we're your enemies." Looked up at her. "Are you, right now in this moment, are you my enemy?" Thought about it. She was cold and scared and far from home. She had never wanted to be a warrior. She had joined the fleet because it was expected, because her family had served for generations, because there was no other path for someone like her. "No," she said quietly, "I don't think I am." Smiled. "Then let's not be enemies. Let's just be two people trying to help each other survive." Across the failing ships, similar scenes played out. Human medics worked alongside crew members, repairing life support systems and treating injuries. There were no guards, no weapons, no demands, just help freely given. Back on the flagship, watched reports coming in from the failing ships, human doctors saving lives, human engineers fixing systems, humans and working side by side as if the invasion had never happened. Commander said, "I don't understand. They have every reason to let us die. We are invaders. We are conquerors. We came to destroy them." "I know." "Then why are they helping us?" Remembered something the human historian had said in her broadcast. Something about humans choosing to be builders instead of destroyers, to heal instead of harm. "Because they can," he said slowly. "Because they chose to. Because they believe that what happens next matters more than what happened before." He looked at the tactical display. 47,000 weapons still pointed at his ship. Fleets still surrounded his fleet. The humans could still destroy them at any moment. But instead of destruction, they had sent medics. Instead of revenge, they had offered mercy. "They could have let us die," said. "They could have watched us suffocate and called it justice. No one would have blamed them. We deserve it." "Yes, Commander, we do." "But they're saving us anyway." His voice was filled with wonder. "They're helping the people who came to enslave them, not because they have to, not because they benefit, but because they believe it's right." He stood from his command chair. "Open a channel to all ships." "Yes, Commander." "And prepare to stand down, full stand down, weapons offline, shields lowered, all of it." Hesitated. "Commander, that will leave us completely defenseless." "I know." Looked at the screen showing human medics saving lives, "but I don't think we need defenses anymore." He took a deep breath. "I think we need to learn a different way." 3 months had passed since the fleet arrived at Earth. The galaxy had not stopped talking about what happened next. Ambassador stood before the Galactic Confederacy Assembly. He was a tall man with white hair and calm eyes, chosen for this moment because he could speak difficult truths without anger. The assembly hall was vast, filled with representatives from over 400 species. All of them were watching him. All of them were waiting. "Distinguished representatives," began, "I am here to answer your questions. I am here to explain why Earth hid its true nature from the galaxy. I am here to tell you what humanity really is." The hall was silent. Not a single being moved or spoke. "For 300 years, we asked you to believe a lie. We asked the Confederacy to rate us as Class 7 primitive. We hid our weapons, our ships, our technology. We pretended to be weak when we were strong. We let you think we were harmless when we were anything but." He paused. "Many of you want to know why. Many of you are angry. You feel betrayed. You trusted the databases, the classifications, the official records, and we manipulated all of it." Lowered his head slightly. "For that, I apologize, but I want you to understand our reasons." He looked up at the assembled species, at their strange faces and unfamiliar bodies, at the representatives of a galaxy that humanity had never quite trusted. We hid because we were afraid, not of you, we were afraid of ourselves. The assembly stirred. Confused murmurs rippled through the crowd. Humans have a long history, continued. Most of it is violent. We spent thousands of years fighting each other, developing weapons, perfecting the art of destruction. We created nuclear bombs that could destroy cities. We built biological weapons that could kill millions. We designed machines of war that exist only to cause suffering. He let that sink in. And then we stopped. We looked at what we had become and we were horrified. We made a choice. We chose to be different. We chose peace. His voice grew heavy. But we knew the truth. We knew that the violence was still inside us. We knew that if we brought our full capabilities into the galaxy, we might fall back into old patterns. We might become conquerors. We might become the very monsters we had fought so hard to stop being. A Confederacy representative spoke up, a tall being with feathers and 4 arms. So you hid to protect us, from yourselves. Yes, said simply. We hid our weapons because we did not trust ourselves to use them wisely. We pretended to be weak because we did not want to be tempted by strength. We hoped that if we seemed harmless, no one would force us to reveal what we really are. The feathered representative clicked his beak, but Commander forced your hand. He did, and now you know the truth. Earth is not a primitive world. It is a fortress. We could have conquered the Confederacy decades ago if we had wanted to. We chose not to. We chose trade and diplomacy and patience. We chose to earn trust rather than demand submission. Another representative spoke, a small being covered in scales. And what happens now, now that everyone knows what you are capable of? Smiled sadly. That is the question, isn't it? Now that the secret is out, what will humanity become? He stepped away from the podium and walked to a window overlooking the stars. I will tell you what I hope will happen. I hope that knowing our true nature will help you understand us better. I hope you will see that strength does not have to mean violence. I hope you will realize that a species capable of destroying you, who chooses not to, is more trustworthy than a species that cannot destroy you even if it wanted to. He turned back to the assembly. Commander came to Earth with 300 warships. He threatened to burn our cities and enslave our people. By every rule of war, we had the right to destroy his fleet and pursue the Dominion into their own territory. Instead, we sent medics to save their dying crew members. We offered help to the people who had come to harm us. He spread his hands. That is who humanity is. We are capable of terrible things. We choose to do good things instead. That choice, that constant struggle between what we can do and what we should do, that is what makes us human. At that moment, the doors of the assembly hall opened. A figure walked in, tall and with 6 eyes and dark purple exoskeleton. Commander! The assembly erupted in confusion. Shouts and questions filled the air. Guards moved forward but raised his hands to show he was unarmed. I request permission to speak, he said. His voice carried across the hall, cutting through the noise. Looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. Commander has been granted asylum on Earth. He has information to share with this assembly. I believe you should hear it. Walked to the podium. His movements were slow, careful, almost humble. This was not the same being who had demanded Earth's surrender 3 months ago. I came to Earth as a conqueror, he said. I expected an easy victory. I found something else entirely. I found a species that could have destroyed my fleet in minutes but chose to negotiate. I found warriors who could have let my people die but chose to save them. I found humans. He paused, his 6 eyes scanning the assembly. I have conquered 12 worlds. I have never once been offered mercy. When my ships were failing, when my crew members were dying, I expected the humans to watch and laugh. Instead, they sent doctors. They sent engineers. They saved over 2,000 lives, asking nothing in return. His voice grew stronger. I do not understand humans. I do not think anyone can fully understand them. They are capable of violence beyond anything I have ever seen, and kindness beyond anything I have ever experienced. They are terrifying and gentle. They are warriors and healers. They are everything and nothing like what we expected. He looked at the human ambassador. I came here to testify on their behalf. I came to tell you that humans are not a threat to the Confederacy. They are a protection. They have built defenses that could shield the entire galaxy from external threats, and they have never once used those defenses for conquest. They have the power to rule, and they choose to serve. The scale-covered representative spoke again. Why should we trust them? They lied to us for 300 years. They lied to protect you, said. They lied because they knew what they were capable of and did not want to frighten anyone. They lied because they wanted peace, not dominance. He turned to face the full assembly. I have been a conqueror all my life. I have never known another way, but the humans showed me something different. They showed me that strength can be used for protection instead of destruction. They showed me that mercy can be more powerful than revenge. His antenna rose in a gesture of respect. I am no longer a commander of the Dominion. I have resigned my position. I have asked humanity to teach me their way. I have asked them to help me understand how a species so capable of destruction can choose to be so committed to peace. The assembly hall was silent. Ambassador returned to the podium. Distinguished representatives, I have one more announcement. In light of recent events, Earth's Confederacy rating has been updated. We are no longer Class 7 primitive. A screen lit up behind him, showing Earth's new classification. Class 0 Apex Protector Species. Do not engage. This is not a threat, said. It is a promise. Humanity will protect those who cannot protect themselves. We will stand against aggression. We will offer mercy to those who accept it and defeat to those who refuse it. We are not conquerors. We are guardians. He smiled. And we hope, in time, you will see us as friends. 6 months later, Captain stood at the observation window of Orbital Station. Lieutenant worked at her console behind him. The station hummed with quiet activity, just like always. But something had changed. The galaxy looked at Earth differently now. Some with fear, some with respect, some with hope. Humanity had stepped out of the shadows and revealed its true face. And that face was complicated. Captain said, we have contacts, multiple contacts. Turned how many? 47 ships, sir. They just dropped out of hyperspace near Mars. For a moment felt the old tension return. Then's face softened. They're broadcasting a distress signal, sir. They're refugees, fleeing from a war in the Outer Rim. They say they came to Earth because they heard a rumor. What rumor? That humans protect those who cannot protect themselves. That we take in the lost and the broken. That we offer help to anyone who asks. Closed his eyes. He thought about all the battles humanity had fought, all the violence in their history, all the weapons hidden throughout the solar system. And he thought about the choice they had made, the choice to be different, the choice to be better. Open a channel, he said. Opened the channel, cleared his throat and spoke. This is Earth defense. You are safe now. He looked out at the stars, at the 47 ships filled with frightened beings who had traveled across the galaxy seeking protection. Welcome home. The end.